Hola amigos, bien o no, y saludos desde Medellín, otro día maravilloso aquí, ¿no? Entonces, tema de hoy, empatía, empathy. O entonces, mejor para decir que para pensar bien en cómo las otras personas pueden recibir tus palabras. Ese es el tema de hoy. So, empathy. And by empathy, in this sense, I mean not just how is the other person feeling, but it's a way of thinking about how the words we're going to use in a conversation and the way we're going to say them, how that's going to be received by the other person, how they're going to feel if, for instance, we change the tone of our voice. In many ways, the way we say what we want to say can have as much of an impact as the words we are saying. So this is a bit like if you have to tell someone bad news. If you use a very abrupt tone when you do that, that bad news might feel worse. If you try and use a more sympathetic tone of voice, maybe a bit quieter, a bit calmer, you might perhaps soften the effect of the news. So it's ways to think about that. This is taking the way we sound when we speak to people to another level, to really think about what are we expressing in the emotion of our voice. So this is not just the words we say, but also the emotion we say with them. For this reason, we're saying think about empathy. Try and empathize with the other person, and in many ways think of how would you like them to respond to what you're going to tell them or what you're going to ask them. So think of it this way. Let's say you're in a particularly busy, noisy, possibly even a stressful environment. Let's pick something like, okay, let's say you're at the airport and you're trying to find your suitcase. And there's lots of other people who are also looking for their suitcase, and you're all queuing up at the office for lost luggage, of which there are probably only one or two people to help the 20 or 30 people who are angrily looking for their lost luggage. So these two people are clearly not having a good day and are not going to welcome you asking them for where is my lost suitcase in an angry voice. So if you approach it with a more empathetic view, in the sense that these people are having probably a worse day than you are and probably need a bit more of your support, you could change either what you say to them to begin with, but also the tone of voice you use when you are speaking to them. Something more compassionate, something acknowledging the fact that they're having a very busy and trying day. Because in the end, if we can express in what we say and how we say it much more empathy for the other person, we make a better connection with that person, and that's going to help us to communicate with them better. And this is particularly useful for us if we're having to do this with a limited vocabulary. And this is part of the challenge for us now we're learning a new language, is that we're not necessarily going to be able to rely on our full fluid vocabulary we have in our native language. We're going to have to think about what to say in quite a perhaps limited, basic way. But the fact that we're using like an 8-year-old's vocabulary doesn't mean we need to sound like an 8-year-old. We can still bring all the nuance we would bring to it in our native language, like an adult level of empathy and change of tone of voice, this kind of thing, but perhaps with a more basic vocabulary. So have a think about that. All these different dialogues and readings you're doing, think about the person that's going to be listening to them. How are they going to feel when you ask them that question? What would you like them to feel in the sense of what kind of connection would you like from that person? What kind of help do you need from them? Because that's probably going to affect the way you're going to say it. and then perhaps you can try different ways of changing your voice to say the same thing and communicate it in a different way. So there we go, that's the idea for today. Empatía. So déjame saber en los comentarios, como siempre, how that one works for you. I hope you find that one useful. But for now, from Medellin, where yet again we have another truly marvellous afternoon, I'll leave you with the view of the sunset. This is leaving us now. And we'll say cheerio.